this problem, we're going to find the domain of the function m defined by m of x equals the quantity x plus 2 over the quantity x squared minus 1. The first thing that we want to notice is that this is a rational function. So we're going to be looking for values of the possible input values that would cause division by 0. Since we can't divide by 0, those numbers can't be in our domain. So one of the things we can do with this function m is to put it into factored form. So we'll rewrite m of x as that quantity x plus 2 over x plus 1 times x minus 1, and we use the difference of two squares to factor x squared minus 1 there. So as we look at that, we can see that x can't be -1 or 1. So when we go to write that domain, we'll write it as the set of x such that x is not equal to either -1 or 1. If we want to write this as an interval, we're going to need to take the union of a set of disjoint intervals. So what that's going to look like, let's draw it out first. We'll mark off 0, we'll mark off 1, we'll mark off -1. And so what we need then is all numbers except -1 and 1. So we'll go from -infinity to -1, and then from -1 to 1, and then moving on from 1 to infinity. So as an interval, we'll write these, we'll union these three intervals. So we'll write -infinity up to -1, union that with -1 to 1, and then union that with 1 to infinity. And what we'll want to note here is that all of these are open brackets. We're not including, obviously, -infinity or infinity, and we're not including -1 or 1.